Alright guys, this is super exciting. Guess where we are right now? Yeah, getting into the MetLife Stadium in the mitten of winter. No, this is not for Super Bowl.
Baruchim haboyim b'shem Hashem. Welcome all to the 13th Global Siyum Hashas Daf Yomi.
And then you can say, Yehem Chayenu is our life. That's what we live for Torah.
Between 1945 and 1965, the Jewish community built over 1,000 synagogues, and the number of children attending Jewish schools more than doubled. While non-Jewish institutions became more accessible, the parallel organizations that Jews had set up grew even further, creating a vibrant, uniquely Jewish identity in the post-war years. Like so many immigrant groups in the past and the present, Jews fought for decades to be included in what it means to be American. They embraced the American ideals even when the country rejected them. They struggled to straddle two identities with a complex and at times antagonistic history, all of which has resulted in a proud, complicated, diverse community that has found a way to build a hybrid identity, both Jewish and American.
Greetings one and all. Super Mondays here in the Holy Land, in the Holy City of Elom Moreshchem, right next to my Holy Yeshiva. We are on the 6th day of the 12th month of Adar, 5786. Thank God we are on the fourth part. We're still not finished, but we are on the fourth part of the great debate on living in the land of Israel or living outside the land of Israel. And we always will try to leave, number one, the link of the debate so you understand what I'm relating to, and also the previous 3 classes that we had. Okay, as always, this class is no different from all the rest, for the sake of heaven, to remove the divine presence from the exile, to improve ourselves one small step. One small step today is one gigantic step of yesteryear. Besides for being the sake of heaven, this class is also for the elevation of the souls. A dear friend of mine, a lifetime friend of mine, Brother Stan Kaniel, for the elevation of his brother that passed away in the land of Israel this past week, Tzvi Elimelech ben Chana. Also for a lifetime friend of mine, Menachem Gottlieb, and his father. Should be an uplifting to their souls. Our sponsors, as always, the amazing volunteers, Mike and the amazing volunteers, 24/7 for the Jewish people. You need help, you need assistance, they're always there. No sleeping for them. Also, the great blog, the greatest blog, Palm Tree of Deborah, one word. Check it out. If you don't have time, make time. Well worth your time. Okay, so far, what we've discussed in the previous 3 classes is the following. Number 1, centrality, the centrality of the commandment to live in the land of Israel, to the centrality of the commandment from the Torah, from Judaism. Number 2, ramifications of Abraham coming in to the land of Israel for generations, for history. Comparing commandments performed in the land of Israel to those performed outside the land of Israel. 4th subject we've tackled, one who lives outside the land of Israel is likened to one who worships foreign worships. And number 5, a simpleton a simple person in the land of Israel is greater than a Torah giant outside the land of Israel. True, false, what does that really mean? I wanted to add a point to the third class a few days ago, and we were speaking about this last point, simpleton in Israel compared to a giant personality outside the land of Israel. This could also be found in the tractate of Ketubot, page 75, side A, where it says in black and white, one Jew in the land of Israel is worth two Jews outside the land of Israel. We had brought this tractate in a previous class, explaining why there are 2 days of holidays outside the land of Israel, only 1 day in the land of Israel, because what it takes a Jew to accomplish in 1 day, it takes double amount that time. We spoke about that. But also on the issue of how can you say that just because a person lives here, that gives him a carte blanche, he's greater. We see here very clearly that one person in the land of Israel is worth two people outside. So I just wanted to fill that blank in. Okay, now, in the great debate, the rabbi from Los Angeles, he stated the following: Israel is the place for some people, and for some people it is not. This is clear from the prophet, chapter 29, where the prophet tells the Jewish people to build homes, set up infrastructure. This is going to be a long haul. Also quoted the commentary of the Malbim, who says along in Hebrew could also mean a healing. Okay, so first of all, where is this verse? This verse is in Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 28. The prophet here, we have to get details straight. Prophet here is talking about a very relatively short period of time that the Jewish people were exiled from the land of Israel, 70 years by the evil king of Babylonia, Nebuchadnezzar. There were false prophets in those days that were trying to convince, kind of like maybe you could call them the fake news, the CNN prophets, so to speak. They were trying to convince the Jewish people that we're going to be back any day. And the true prophet, Jeremiah, told the Jewish people that it's going to be a long haul here of 70 years. But that's the period of time we're talking. We're not talking about the 2,000-year period that we are in. This was a whole different situation that he was addressing. So Jeremiah was telling people, we're not coming back in a couple of days. Buy houses, settle down, marry, have children, etc. We will return after the 70 years. This has nothing to do with today's, when I say today, talking about our last leg of almost 2,000 years of exile. Let us look at the opinions of building up outside the land of Israel. We're not talking about 70 years. Jeremiah said his word. But let's look at some of the commentators. What do they have to say to Jews that were building up outside the land of Israel, as if we were not going to be redeemed, as if they had despaired from being from redemption? So let's look at this. Put on a seatbelt, you'll be amazed. Number one, batting first, the Shlach HaKadosh, Rabbi Yeshaya Halevi Horowitz. He lived from 1558 to 1630 in Prague, and then the land of Israel. Just a reminder here, from the year 1040 to 1492. That is the early sages, what we call Rishonim. After that period, we're talking about later sages, Achronim. He writes the following at the end of tractate Sukkot. My heart has been on fire always on this issue. The Jewish people are building homes like fortified palaces of the dignitaries. Now, once again, think about fortified palaces. Think about what kind of buildings we have today. This is over 400 years ago. Think about how people lived in those days. And he's still complaining 400 years before. What are we going to talk about? What will we say today when we look at Jewish residency? And they are making their stay permanent in these impure countries. This is blinding our desire for redemption. Shla Kadosh. Next. The Maharal's brother, Rabbi Chaim, in his book, Geula, Dishua, chapter 1, he lived from 1520 to 1558. Many of our people have despaired from redemption and look at themselves as citizens in the countries of the enemies. They are building their beautiful homes outside the land of Israel. The Kliyakar, one of the major hitters, major commentaries on the 5 books of Moses, Kliyakar. Kliyakar was Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim from Prague. Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim was on his deathbed, and he vowed to God that if God would save him from this the deadly illness that he was struck down with, he would write a commentary on the Torah. So this is very special. He lived from 1550 to 1619. The Kliyakar brings down, in the name of the author of the book, the Akedah, Rabbi Yitzchak Arama, who was a Rishon, an earlier sage, 1420 to 1495 in Spain. The Kliyakar, I will summarize what he writes. According to our sages in Yalkut Shimoni, 157, 49th subject, when Jacob wanted to reveal when the redemption would take place before he passed away to his sons, when they were reunited in Egypt for 17 years, God blocked this information. Why? Why did God block the information when the Jewish people would be redeemed? Since this would have brought a lack of respect to God's name. That's what our sages tell us. God blocked censored the information so it would not make a desecration of God's name. What are we talking about? Why would this information, the revelation of the details of when the redemption is coming, why would that create a disgrace, a desecration of God's name? So, the Akedah says the following. If the Jews would have known the time of redemption, since it was a way in the future, in the distance, they would despair from being redeemed and would begin to, so to speak, to dig in and build themselves up outside the land of Israel. This happened also, there is a precedent to this, when the Jews thrived in Egypt. They did not want to leave. We know that 80% of the Jews in Egypt did not want to leave. when redemption time had come. So therefore they perished in the plague of darkness. By the way, the Kli Yakar brings this twice. He says it, number one, in Genesis 47:28, and also at the beginning of Vayechi, the last portion of Genesis. Next, the Pele Yoetz, Rabbi Eliezer Papo. He was born 240 years ago in Bosnia. He writes in two places in his classical work, Pele Yoetz. One in under the letter Gimel, redemption, Geula. In order not to take our minds off being redeemed, we should not build strong and luxurious homes in our impure countries. Second time that the Pele Yoetz writes about building up outside the land of Israel. It is better to rent a home than to build one's own home, so they should not be permanent outside the land of Israel. Folks, unfortunately, these are not my words. We could look in the introduction to the prayer book of Rav Yaakov Emden, who says in black and white, and many others, that we have forgotten. We have forgotten Jerusalem. We have forgotten the land of Israel. It's not in our lexicon. It's not in our mind. It's not a real possibility, a real not a real possibility in our minds. We've settled in where we've dug in ourselves into outside the land of Israel. Okay, so as far as building up outside the land of Israel, those are a few ideas that we see. They all have the same thread that goes through all of these ideas, that to feel that we are temporary. An amazing story that hits this home is that Rabbi Mordechai Gifter Zatzal of the Cleveland Telz Yeshiva, he was brought to the land of Israel. He set up a community, a beautiful community of religious Jews outside Jerusalem called Telstone. And it was the happiest years of his life, he writes. However, after some years, members of the community came to Rabbi Mordechai Gifter and asked that he return to the Telz Yeshiva, because if not, the whole network would just disappear. It would just be destroyed. So they had a condition. The Rabbi Gifter and his Rebbetzin, his wife, that we will not move into a home. We will move into the boys' dormitory of the yeshiva, of the religious Talmudic Institute. That is amazing. He had no choice. In order that the institution, the Telz Yeshiva, the famous Telz Yeshiva, would not be destroyed. So we will not feel at home. If every Jew got up in the morning and said, oh my God, one more day here outside the land of Israel, this is awful, but we don't. We have come, I'm not talking about secular Jews, I'm talking about us. We have become so assimilated, we have become so American, so European, whatever. How many of us with a hand on our heart could really say that? Rabbi Gifter, what a beautiful example. I have no choice. I have to leave the land of Israel. Sometimes that happens. I'm not going to rent a house. I'm not going to build a house. I'm not moving into any house. I will be in the dorms of the boys. That is hitting it out of the field, and the ball is still traveling. Thank you. Tomer Devora. Our next point that we want to tackle. Maimonides, the Rambam, lived in Spain, also Egypt later on, from 1138 to 1204. He is a Rishon, an early sage. It is known that Maimonides did not include the commandment to live in Israel or to conquer the land of Israel in his book, the 613 Commandments. Does that mean, because it's not in the book of the 613, does that mean that Maimonides did not count that as a commandment? When we look, my rabbi of blessed memory, Rabbi Moshe Tzuriel Zatzal, says the following: when we look at the numerous amount of laws that Maimonides brought down based on the conclusion that there is a commandment today in our times, no temple. We're not talking about the good days. Maimonides brings down so many laws today that are based on the conclusion that there is a positive commandment to live in the land of Israel. Rabbi Tzuriel, in his book, Drishat Tzion, page 46, he brings down a partial, check that word out, a partial list of 24 commandments in our times that are based on the fact that there is a Torah commandment to live in the land of Israel. Whoa. Rabbi Tzuriel continues. The fact that Maimonides did not bring it down as one of the 613 does not, God forbid, prove that he did not consider it a Torah commandment. In fact, the famous Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilna, the Gra, his younger brother was Rabbi Avraham. He lived from 1722 to 1804, 2-year difference in age. He was younger, Rabbi Avraham. He brings down in his book, Rabbi Avram from Vilna, he brings down in the book Malot Torah, in the name of his brother, the Gra, that when we talk about 613 commandments, these are the roots. However, there are many, many commandments that are on the branches. Those are just the roots, the source. But there are branches which are also Torah commandments, many of them. Next, from Turkey, Rabbi Chaim Falaji, 1788, 1868. In his Q&A called Nishmat Chaim on the Code of Jewish Law, Yoradea, page 48. Law 75. It is certain that according to Maimonides, the living in the land of Israel is a Torah commandment. However, because the land of Israel encompasses the entire Torah, it was not brought down by Maimonides, as he explains in root number 4. Maimonides explains at the beginning of his book on commandments, he has 14 principles where he worked with. 14 principles, what is considered to be a commandment, what am I including, and what am I not including. So the 4th principle talks about commandments that encompass the entire Torah are not included in Maimonides' own words, are not included in his book. In the Code of Jewish Law, Yoradea, 267, Law 84. Rabbi Yosef Karo, he brings down, a servant who wishes to move to the land of Israel can coerce his master to go. The other way around, if the master wishes to leave the land of Israel, he cannot coerce his servant to leave. This law applies even when the land of Israel is in the hands of the nations. Once again, we're talking about not the temple standing, not the good old days. We are talking about in our days where we are in exile. This is brought down in the Code of Jewish Law. The Gra comments on this. This shows how the Code of Jewish Law and Maimonides in the Laws of Servants, Chapter 8, Law 9, hold that it is a commandment to live in the land of Israel today, and not like the words of Rabbi Chaim in the Tosfot in the Tractate of Ketubot. Once again, we have the Code of Jewish Law bringing a law that applies today, which shows us very clearly that there is a commandment to live in the land of Israel brought down by the Gra, brought down in the name of Maimonides. This understanding of the Gra, who includes the Code of Jewish Law, who includes Maimonides in the belief that living in the land of Israel is today a positive commandment from the Torah, is also shared by many. Just to name a few. Number one, Rabbi Chaim Shabtai, known as the Marchash, in his Q&A, Volume 3, question number 41. That was Rabbi Chaim Shabtai, lived in Greece from 1557 to 1647. Number 2 is the Q&A, Shoel U'Meishiv, Volume 1, question number 151. This was by Rabbi Shaul Natanson. He lived in Ukraine from 1810 to 1875. Number 3, the grandson of the famous Kotzker Rebbe. His name was Rabbi Chaim Yisrael. In the book Shalom Yerushalayim on page 18. Last but not least, Rabbi Chaim Falaji in his Q&A, Nishmat Kol Chai, Yoredea 49, page 201. So we brought 4 big hitters that bring down the same understanding that the Gra took from the Code of Jewish Law from Maimonides. Okay, now according to the Avnei Nezer, the Sokochova Rebbe, who we quoted in a few classes, in his commentary on the Code of Jewish Law, Yoredea 454, paragraph 6, page 142. The commandment to live in the land of Israel is included in the 613 book of commandments of Maimonides, but it's called something else. It's called the positive commandment to remove the 7 nations, the 7 Canaanite nations from the land of Israel. Why? Because this will enable us, if we remove the intruders in the land of Israel, then we could settle the land of Israel. So Maimonides didn't call it living in the land of Israel. He took the way, how do we get to that commandment? We have to go through a certain venue. That venue is called to destroy the 7 nations and to remove them from the land. So it is a positive commandment. It was just called something else by Maimonides because of one of his 14 principles. Next, in our times, the Chazon Ish, in his letters, volume 1, letter number 175, page 162. The commandment to live in the land of Israel was decided. Listen to the words of the great, perhaps the greatest, the Chazon Ish, passed away in 1953 in Bnei Brak, in the land of Israel, was decided by Maimonides, Nachmanides, and the rest of the Jewish law authorities. Now the Chazon Ish comes and he hits it out of the park. Amazing. In the name of Maimonides, and of course we know Nachmanides, and the code of Jewish law. It is known how much the Chafetz Chaim desired to come to the land of Israel. By the way, this Chazon Ish was brought down by Rabbi Shach of Bnei Brak, the great Rosh Yeshiva, when he was asked by a rabbi of Beverly Hills, Beth Jacob. I happened to go to that synagogue, and I know Rabbi Dolgan. So this was related to Rabbi Dolgan when he was in Los Angeles, and he was deliberating whether he should leave his entire congregation. We're talking about 500-600 people in that Beth Jacob. It's a very prestigious community. So Rabbi Shach brought down this letter from the Chazon Ish, yes, to come, and that's what he did. He came. By the way, there were 4 attempts by the Chafetz Chaim to Rabbi Yishmael Meir Kagan to come to the land of Israel. 4 attempts. In fact, once Rabbi Chaim Ozer, who was considered to be the leading sage of that generation, came to him and said, listen, if you leave, everything's going to fall apart. So he didn't leave. The next time, he didn't tell anybody. But even so, his daughter was deathly ill, so he had to change his plans. Not more than that. The Chafetz Chaim sent his belongings. The Chafetz Chaim had students acquire a home for him in the city of Petach Tikva. Wow, that's not a very well-known fact. How much, and that's the words of the Chazon Ish, how much the Chafetz Chaim desired to come to the land of Israel. Moving right along. On Maimonides, the classic commentator on the Torah, Rabbi Chaim, the son of Atar, better known as Or Chaim HaKadosh, lived from 1696 to 1743 in the land of Israel. On his commentary to the Torah, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 20, he writes there that the commandment to live in Israel encompasses the entire Torah, black and white. As we said, one of the principles of Maimonides is not to include in the 613 commandments a commandment that encompasses all of the Torah. Number 8, Rabbi Yaakov Zev Kahana of Vilna. He passed away exactly 200 years ago. For 21 years, he studied under the Gra, Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilna. 21 years he merited to study by the Gra. In his Q&A, Toldot Yosef on Jewish law, Choshen Mishpat, question number 8, page 188. We hope that, we're not going to give you a test, but we hope that you check out all of these sources. We want you to be calm, cool, and collective, the 3 C's, that everything is there. Check it out. Says the following: Maimonides considers living in the land of Israel a Torah commandment. The reason he did not put it down in the book of the 613 is Maimonides himself tells us in his 14 principles that commandments that encompass the entire Torah we do not include. This is principle number 4 and 5, brought down by Rabbi Yaakov Zev Kahana of Vilna 200 years ago, passed away. Last but not least, the great one from Minsk, Rabbi Yerucham Perelman. He was a childhood genius. He was born 200 years ago in Minsk. Maimonides considered living in the land of Israel a positive commandment. Why then did not include it with the 613? because of the fact that it does not say specifically in a verse in the Torah to live in the land of Israel, to settle in the land of Israel. However, we see the centrality of the living of the land of Israel in the entire Torah. We learn from this, and he goes and he discusses Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joshua, Moses, and he goes through the whole David. He goes through the whole line. We see very clearly the centrality of the land of Israel in the Torah. Therefore, this is learned. We learn it is a positive commandment to live in the land of Israel according to Maimonides, but we learn it through the various 13 principles that are brought down in the Breita of Rabbi Ishmael. Some of us say that every day in the morning prayers. Remember, very important, Maimonides did not bring as commandments, for example, repentance, not brought. Number 2, doing what's right in God's eyes, V'asita yashar b'nei Hashem, not brought. Tamim tiyeh, be pure, was not brought. Happiness, the commandment to be happy, was not brought. Okay, so there are many things that were not included in the 613. Of course, Maimonides would not say that they are not commandments. Okay, next point. Special status of the land of Israel that gave it precedence over other commandments. This is really amazing. This is wild. Why is there a special status given to the land of Israel? We'll see a few examples. In the book by the contemporary Nachalat Yaakov, he writes on page 96, there's theory and there's practice. The land of Israel brings all of the theories of the Torah and the Jewish people into fruition, into practice. It's like I have architectural plans and they don't mean anything to me until I see it's put into practice, it's put into action. The land of Israel is that vessel that brings the Jewish people, brings the Torah, brings God as a part of the world, as a real player, real players to the world. By the way, this is brought down in the Mechilta in Exodus, Bishalach, chapter 9. It says that God acquired 4 foundations. One was the Torah, one was the Jewish people, one was heavens and earth, and the last one was the land of Israel and the temple. What does that mean? So the commentaries say, what does it mean that I acquired? You know, you hear about in NBA, we acquired this player. Now he belongs to our organization. That's what we're talking about. These items allow God's name and presence, so to speak. It's a vehicle to bring it into this world. Maimonides writes before he gets down to the 613 commandments that today, because of the fact that we do not have the land of Israel, we have 52 commandments out of 613. That is amazing. 52 commandments. We don't have the vehicle called the land of Israel, which allows us to perform all of these commandments. We're standing on not one leg, we're standing on one toe. So therefore, These are foundations. These 4 items that God acquired. These are the foundations, the base, the fundamentals of Judaism. And one of them is the land of Israel. So it is so important that it takes precedence over other commandments. So let's look at some other opinions. What's so special about the land of Israel that it precedes other commandments? Nachmanides, on Tractate Shabbat, page 130, side B. There is a benefit. The commandment to live in the land of Israel benefits all of Israel, that the land of Israel should not be desolate, to keep the Holy Land holy and Jewish. Therefore, in order to keep the Holy Land with the Jewish people and not desolate, it takes precedence over other commandments that perhaps, so to speak, might be in the way. The Ritva. The Ritva was Rabbi Yom Tov ben Avram. He was a Rishon, early sage, 1250 to 1330 in Spain. He was a heavy hitter. He writes on his commentary to the tractate of Rosh Hashanah, page 32, side B. The land of Israel, the commandment to live in the land of Israel is different from other commandments that have a specific time or a place. The land of Israel, the commandment of the land of Israel is forever. There is a benefit for all of Israel that the land should not be transferred to the impure. So you could put on your 4-cornered garment, excellent, and then you take it off and you put it down, you take a shower, you go to sleep. Some people do wear it when you go to sleep, but I say the morning prayers, I say the afternoon prayers, and we finished. The land of Israel is forever. It's an eternal. It's every second that you're here. We are observing this commandment every second. Therefore, it gives us special status. Number 3, a peer of Nachmanides, Rabbi Meir Hami'ili, in his book, in his commentary on the Talmud, Tractate Shabbat, 137, side B. There is a special charm we do not see with other commandments, since the land of Israel brings us the opportunity to perform so many commandments. There's a certain charm that was given to the land of Israel. It allows us to, as I mentioned, only because we do not have the land of Israel, we only are able to do it, and that's not everyone. We're not able to do all of them. So, but there's 52. That's nothing. I mean, we're handicapped without the land of Israel. Number 4, it is an all-encompassing national commandment and not an individual commandment. We have many individual commandments. I, as a Kohen, as a priest, I have a commandment every day to bless the Jewish people. Birkat Kohanim. But that's an individual. The land of Israel is a national commandment for the nation. That's why it has special status. Okay, we're going to run down the list of what the land of Israel, a few things that the land of Israel takes precedent. Number 1, Torah study. You heard that right. Chatam Sofer. What? The land of Israel over Torah? Correct. The Chatam Sofer on the Tractate of Sukkah, page 36, side A, says the following. As we know, there is a dispute in the Tractate of Brachot, page 35, side B, whether one should work the land or just learn Torah. Rabbi Yishmael says that a person has to learn Torah, of course, but it has to also work. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says no. If you work, and learn, you're not going to be learning, or you're not going to be perhaps learning on a high level because your mind is preoccupied. So comes the Khatam Sofer, says an amazing line. Khatam Sofer says this whole dispute between Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is only talking about outside the land of Israel, because inside the land of Israel, it is a mitzvah, it is a commandment to work the land in order to bring out its holy fruits. We know from the Bach, Beit Chadash, in the Code of Jewish Law, he brings down that when a person eats the fruits of the land of Israel, it does something. It creates holiness in a person's body. It elevates us. The fruits of the land of Israel elevate us. So therefore, the dispute between Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is only outside, because in the land of Israel, it's a commandment. So a person would never say, listen, I'm not going to put on tefillin because of the fact that I'm learning Torah. I'm not going to observe Shabbat because I'm learning Torah. You don't say that. You take a break and you do that commandment because it's a positive commandment. Same too with working the land. It says that, okay, you go out and you stop learning Torah and you work the land. It is the same as putting on, these are the words of the Khatam Sofer. It's the same as putting on tefillin. It's the same as being in a sukkah. This is a commandment. As we see, Boaz, who eventually married Ruth, the princess from Moab, he was the head of the great religious tribunal court, the Sanhedrin, and we see in the book of Ruth, he's working the fields. Why? It's a commandment. It's a commandment to work the land. So no one will be able to say, I will not work the land because I'm studying Torah. By the way, amazingly, Khatam Sofer does not just leave it as working the land. You know, you don't have to be a farmer. He brings out other occupations in the land of Israel. That is really amazing. When you're working in the land of Israel and you're building up the economy of the land of Israel, we spoke about a few days ago in our classes how what the Jews have done to the world, to America, to Europe, how they built them up. We're building up foreign worshipers. This is Eretz Yisrael. This is God's land. This is the Jewish homeland. That's what we have to build up. And that is a commandment. It makes working a whole different level. Number 2, listening to rabbis. Amazingly, there is a question to the Mi'il Tzedakah, was Rabbi Yonah Landsover, lived in the Czech Republic from 1678 to 1712. I summarize. A question was posed to Rabbi Yonah about a religious court that was telling a family that they could not move to the land of Israel because of dangers traveling to the land of Israel. Is this correct or incorrect? Okay, so once again, Rabbi Yonah receives this question. A family was thinking about moving to the land of Israel. They decided to take it to a religious court wherever they lived. I don't know where they were from. And the court told them, do not go because there are dangers involved, and dangers take a precedent to life. A danger to one's life takes precedent over commandments. Rabbi Yonah responded, we see that Ezra the scribe took 5 months to arrive in the land of Israel. He could have received, he was a person of dignitary, he could have received a escort of soldiers because he was a dignitary, but he specifically did not ask for any escort. Who allowed him to endanger himself to come to the land of Israel? So we see, very interesting, he did take dangers, 5 months on the road. So therefore, Rabbi Yonah says the following, this is amazing. If there is another Beit Din that sees things differently, listen to them. Go to a different Beit Din. And if they see the situation, he brings a few examples where one Beit Din had said about various reality things on the ground, facts on the ground which were not correct. And they went to another a religious tribunal where they had the facts on the ground were correct. So you don't have to listen to the first court. And don't worry about being punished. I'm going to be punished for not listening to the rabbis, to the tribunal, religious tribunal court. He says no, because we see that something similar, that we do not, if our parents tell us not to observe the commandment, not to go to the land of Israel, we don't have to listen to them. As is brought down by, we will see very shortly, it is brought down that you do not have to listen to your parents, even though there's one of the commandments, of course, is to honor your parents. You don't have to, if they tell you to transgress a commandment, you do not listen to them. Okay, moving right along. Rabbi Yosef Blumfeld, he was the head of the religious tribunal court of Tel Aviv. He was born in Europe in 1890, and he passed away in 1966. He has a commentary on the famous book, Kaftor V'Ferach, on the land of Israel, 500-page commentary, amazing. He brings down the Gerer Rebbe. The Gerer Rebbe, in his book, the Gerer Rebbe's book, called the Book of Merit, Sefer HaZchut, on the portion of Shlach, page 27. What is the connection between we see in the Torah, we talk about the spies, and you know that they despised, why do they call them spies? Because they despised the land. And the commandment of tzitzit, what is the connection? And he says amazingly, just like we say with tzitzit, do not look at those tzitzit and do not go after your eyes. Do not go after your heart, what your eyes see. Do not be carried away with what you see. The spies were tremendously righteous people, but their eyes, they got carried away with what they saw. They saw giants and they saw very, very fortified cities. They got carried away. So here, listen to the words of the Gerer Rebbe. Amazing. Do not go after our eyes. This includes the tribunal court, the religious tribunal court, the Sanhedrin, is called the eyes of the Jewish people. Einei ha'ida. That's what it means. If they tell us not, if our leaders tell us not to go up to the land of Israel, we should not listen to them. And he says an amazing prophecy. There may very well be such tests before the redemption that the great ones will tell us not to go up to the land of Israel. So we have the commentary Me'il Tzedakah, and now we have Rabbi Yosef Blumenfeld in the name of the Gerer Rebbe. Moving right along, honoring parents. Parents tell us don't move to the land of Israel. I have the names, but because I'm running short on time, excuse me, I'm just going to say the names. Okay, the Q&A of the Mabit, volume 1, paragraph 139. Parents tell you don't move to Israel, you don't have to listen to them. Next, the Q&A of Rabbi Meir of Rothenburg. The second gate, question number 79. The Pitrei Tshuva commentary on the Code of Jewish Law. Even HaEzer 75:6, Law 6. And many others bring down the law that even though a person that honors their parents, they merit long life, longevity. The commandment of the land of Israel overrides it. Amazing. Let's say, God forbid, one's parents are senile. How can you leave them? Comes the Oel Yitzchak, who lived 200 years ago, and his 12th speech. And he writes that a person is allowed to leave their parents who have turned senile. Next, buying a house on Shabbat. You heard that right. You don't have to clean out your ears. One is allowed to tell a Gentile, even though we're not allowed to tell Gentiles to do various transgressions, whether they're according to the rabbis a transgression, d'Rabbanan, or from the Torah. This is brought down in the tractate Gittin, page A, side B, brought down in the Code of Jewish Law, Orach Chaim 306, Law 11. Also brought down by the Chafetz Chaim in the Mishnah Brura, that there's a person is allowed to have a Gentile sign a contract for him in order to buy a house in the land of Israel on Shabbat, even though in any other situation you're not allowed to tell a Gentile. And here, according to most opinion, any language that you write, not just Hebrew, any language that you write, it is a Torah prohibition. Even so, you're allowed to tell the Gentile to write and sign the contract so you buy a house on Shabbat, on the Sabbath. Next, we know the importance of multiplying. It's the first commandment in the Torah, to multiply, to marry and have children. We know how severe divorce is in the Torah. It tells us even the altar sheds tears. Or we know that the Talmud tells us in Ketubot 110b that anybody that does that is called a person that, once again, we're not talking about various special situations, of course, where it's a commandment, positive thing to get a divorce. We're talking about a regular situation. He's called despised. Okay, he's called despised. Even so, one is allowed to divorce if a person's husband or wife do not want to come to the land of Israel, whether it's the husband or the wife, they can get a divorce. Get a divorce, but you might not find another wife, another husband. You might not have any children. And divorce, it's awful. Even so, the commandment to live in the land of Israel takes precedence over the first commandment in the Torah to multiply and be many. Whoa. And when you multiply, this is similar to God. You become a partner, as we are told. You become a partner in creation. Next, in Leviticus chapter 25, verse 46, and in the book of commandments, commandment number 235, the positive commandment. It's brought down also in Code of Jewish Law, Yoredeh, 267, Law 85, in Maimonides, Laws of Servants, chapter 8, Law 9. This is brought down that even though there is a commandment that a Canaanite servant is not allowed to be freed, if they escape to the land of Israel, you can't bring them back. Or if they want to go up, they can coerce their master, to their boss, to come up to the land of Israel. That is amazing. But there's a commandment that they're not allowed to be set free. But for the sake of the land of Israel, if a Canaanite servant wants to go to the land of Israel, you must let him free. Free at last. I have a dream to make it to the land of Israel. Wow. A person makes an oath. Oaths are very serious. Not to go to the land of Israel. Comes the Q&A of the Mabit, Volume 1, question 245. That oath is null and void. Why? It's a commandment to live in the land of Israel. If a person says, I'm not going to keep Shabbat, you don't have to annul that oath. The oath doesn't exist. You can't make an oath against a commandment. So we see very clearly here the power of, okay, and it's very serious to say the name of God in vain. You made an oath in God's name. No problem. For the land of Israel, you don't have to, okay, you don't have to annul that. Traveling before Shabbat. There's two problems with that. One is a person gets sick. Okay, you're on a ship. So there's laws 3 days before. It takes about 3 days to get used to a boat. So you're allowed to travel 4, 5, 6 days before. But one should not travel 3 days. How much more so on the eve, on the day of Shabbat. So we see an amazing, this to enjoy Shabbat, there is a dispute in the Jewish law, whether it's from the Torah or whether it's from the rabbis. But this could be found in Orach Chaim, in Code of Jewish Law, 248, Law 4. It's brought down in 2 places in the Chavetz Chaim, the Mishnah Berurah, 28 and 34. That for the sake of the commandment to live in Israel, you are allowed to travel within 3 days. You are allowed to travel on Friday to the land of Israel, even though you might transgress a commandment of enjoying pleasure, have a pleasurable Sabbath because you're on the water and you're getting nauseous, or you have a good chance to desecrate Shabbat. You're allowed for the sake of the commandment to go to Israel. Number 8. A person has a brother, and the brother's wife, the brother passes away and they did not have any children. There's a commandment called Yibum that the brother should marry his sister-in-law now that the husband is dead, in order that they should have children and a name for the deceased. So therefore, this is brought down in the tractate Ketubot 112a. A sister-in-law did not want to come to the land of Israel. The brother was in the land of Israel. Sister-in-law, her husband died, was outside the land of Israel. She did not want to come. What's the law? This man was told, don't go to, but it's a positive commandment to marry that poor woman, this widow. No, the commandment to live in Israel takes precedent. This is brought down in the book Oel Moshe, the 2nd volume, 23rd question, 12th paragraph. This is also brought down in the questions of Chemdat Tzvi, volume 1, in paragraph, question number 1, point number 54. Folks, we see the tremendous power, precedence, that the charm of the land of Israel, the power of land of Israel, it allows the Jewish people, as we say on Shabbat, in the afternoon prayers, we are a nation when we are in the land of Israel. Goy echad ba'aretz. It brings out, we saw the Maimonides, if there are no Jews in the land of Israel, there is no nation of Israel, there are no holidays. That is what we're talking about. It is a vehicle to bring the Torah, to bring God's name, to bring the Jewish people into play, reality, bring them to publicize God in the world. The land of Israel is our vehicle. Till next week, don't touch that dial.